to show for our players that like it is huge. It's been game changing. And I think this last year when we've sent a couple guys to some D1 schools, like it showed. Like I feel like, I mean, Mike was there before me, but we had a good group of guys come in and get 4-year scholarships. And we had like out of the 9 starting players, 8 of them were playing Division I baseball the following year.
Wow. That's really good.
Yeah.
Wow. How have you seen like analytics and player development kind of take that change over the past, let's say 5 years or whenever you started to coach? Because it seems like it's being more prominent now. It seems like it's definitely making some impacts in your coaching, the way you guys coach. How have you guys seen that change, and how have you guys changed to manage that?
I think there's less arguments, between a coach and a player. If you show whether you're showing them video, there's raw numbers, it's kind of hard to deny. You can kind of talk your way around it, but the numbers and what you're seeing is what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. I mean, yeah, I remember, you used to really only be able to have the numbers that, that you collect yourself when you play. And now, for us, we can get numbers on other programs, to help us prepare, for a weekend series or a game or something like that. There's a lot more available. The other thing is the technology is more available too. I mean, just like you said, Tom, like 5 years ago, like no one really knew, what half this stuff was. And,
right.
the technology wasn't available.
Yeah.
And I think it was, coaches may have been, coaching that way, in the certain trends that there are now already. But then with the technology becoming available, you were able to kind of quantify it. You were able to put a number, to it or add some science to it to,
Right.
to really break it down. I think it's changed a lot, even in gameplay, like just with spray charts and certain tendencies as well. I mean, that plays a huge role.
Now, have you guys ever seen an experience with the kid or a group of kids where it takes a negative effect, where essentially, they're more concerned with the analytics, with the results than, maybe commanding, an inside fastball, and they're kind of getting away with what's going to make them a good ball player?
Yeah, I think you kind of just, kind of hit it on the head. If they get too focused on that stuff instead of the results, which are the most important part, then it's a bad path to go down. I mean, yeah, you could throw 93 with a great spin rate or great spin efficiency, but like if you can't hit the backstop, like what?
Right.
You're not going to play in a game. So I think there's a really, really fine balance. There's a really fine balance. That's why I think at the college level, you use it more of fine tuning. There's certain things that have to come before you get into that stuff. If you get way too into even velocity, I mean, if you get too into velocity, too into spin, it's not an end all be all. I mean, you got to get results. I mean, for us, we need the guys who are going to give us the best chance to win, and that's all result based. And that's what sometimes it's a crazy world, but that's what our jobs are relied upon too. So it's I think it's it could be a bad path to get down, but it also could be a really good one if you're a pretty polished player, and then you can use this to add, or if you are just entering in and you want to understand more things. Everybody thinks differently, so it may help some people more than others, but you can't just rely on it, I guess, is ultimately the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what I found is that you can't overwhelm these kids with so much data. Then they continue to think about their spin rate and their spin axis on the slider, or whatever. You kind of have to pick and choose what's going to be best for that athlete, and pick and choose how you're going to communicate to them.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, like it's better for the coaches or for you, Tom, to actually look and analyze the data. And then you don't have to tell them, oh, this is what your spin rate was, or this is what your spin axis is. But you can help them with verbal cues. Like Nick was saying, he's looking for these verbal cues to give these guys to be able to change things. And that's where I think as coaches, we can come in, into play and be a benefit to guys, because, it may not register with them if you say, hey, this is what your spin rate is and this is what it should be, or this is where we want it to get to be, or hey, your spin rate wasn't great there. But there's certain things you could tell them to do, that'll actually increase or better those things, without actually them hearing the numbers and looking after every pitch. Oh, this is what my velocity, spin rate, spin efficiencies,
Yeah, exactly. And especially with fastballs, for example, you can tell, with their spin efficiency, say if they have a real low spin efficiency on a fastball or a real high gyro degree, chances are they're cutting the ball, and it could be a mechanical issue. So before you tell them, like, dude, you're cutting the ball, let's try to fix the mechanics and see if we could do that based off of mechanics without him having to think about, the analytics side. So,
or it could be a really good cutter, and then he's got to come up with a good two seam to kind of pair it up with. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. It's something to play around with, and yeah, for sure. So that's what's cool about the data is that it gives you that feedback, so you can go ahead and look and match it up with the video and start to pair things and see what works. Because say, like you said, say if that low efficiency fastball is actually a really good cutter. Let's try to keep that feel, but now let's get that fastball working pretty well, and let's get a much better fastball going, and then work to pair it off from that. I'm not much of a hitting guy, so Nick, I apologize for doing all the pitching references, but they kind of go hand in hand when you think about it.
Definitely. I've had people think about when I have the blast, like thinking about their attack angle too much, and they rope a line drive to center field. Like, no, like if you're gonna hit, if you do that, no one's gonna complain. Like my brother's prime example. Like I would take him hitting, and we use the blast, and he would hit an absolute missile, and his attack angle would only be like 5, and he wants to be at 15. I'm like, don't worry about the numbers yet. Like the numbers are good to know and have, but you got to look at the result. Like Pete was saying, like the result is the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes less is more,
definitely.
Brother trying to increase his attack angle there, right? His swing is not what his swing should be.
Right. It's complete. It's changing the whole base of everything.
Right. Exactly. And that's the worst thing that you would want to happen.
Right.
Now they start to develop those bad habits, and now instead of worrying about the one thing, you're worrying about multiple things, and it's out, and they're turning into a player that they're regressing instead of progressing.
Taken away from just their natural abilities there. Now, with the evolution of technology, within the past 5 years and the way it's continuing to project, do you guys or have you seen it favor one side, pitching versus hitting? And do you think, that's going to continue, or is it kind of a level playing field?
I think pitching, you can probably use it a little bit more because you're actually in control of the ball. You're holding it in your hand, right? Where hitting, you could hit a ball with topspin and backspin, and you're not totally in control of that, of what happens off the bat. I think the other thing is like the pitches themselves will dictate a lot of times, like, your attack angle. A high fastball versus a breaking ball, lower in the zone is going to be totally different. I think there's benefits to both sides, but I think maybe pitching a little bit more just because you're in a little bit more control with having the ball in your hand.
Yeah,
sure.
I think a lot of the hitting is byproduct of the pitching. Mm-hmm. Like your launch angle, like you're never gonna have your launch angle. Like it's a byproduct of where the pitch was, what type of pitch it was. So I think pitching's way ahead of the curve of hitting too. I think.
Yeah, just look at hitting Twitter.
Right. Yeah, I think pitching's way ahead, and I think it's gonna stay that way.
Yeah, and with pitching, you can use it in that bullpen setting where you're able to collect a lot of data on them. You're able to do it more in that practice setting, where I think with hitting, like you're able to do that, but it's important to get that in-game feedback from them to see how they're attacking those pitches and see, what they're doing in that in-game setting to make those adjustments, where pitching, I think, is a little bit, you could practice it a little bit more because, with hitting, it's hard to get that in-game feel unless you're able to match somebody's spin rate up to an opponent's, for example, because like you're saying, it's being dictated by the pitcher, where for pitching, the pitcher's the one who's dictating it, so you have more control of the game.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier for the pitcher, and it's a little bit more, I guess, accommodating for them as well compared to the hitter, And Pete, do you guys are you guys able to track in-game data at all for like attack angles or anything like that, or you guys?
No, not in game. I think in game it's a little bit harder to get. But yeah, I mean, we're looking into it. I'm sure at some point we'll get there. I think it's just everything's progressing and kind of trending that way. But right now, no. And again, I think for us, mostly in game, we don't want them to really think about that. It's just go play, be you. We've done all the work. We've done all the preparation. Go play loose and free and do what you do best. So
yeah,
I think in practice is probably the best time to get it.
Do you guys see any holes right now with what's out there? Like, is there any technology or analytics or anything in that regard that you feel like you wish you had? Or, is everything kind of covered right now?
I think everything's somewhat covered. It's just whether you have the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone wishes they had TrackMan right now, but
If you got a limited budget, you could probably get everything covered. Whether you have a TrackMan, Rapsodo, Blast, Hit Tracks, you can get just about everything covered.
Yeah.
Nick, so with you being more of a hitting guy, kind of like what I was touching on before with, getting these in-game numbers with their attack angles and, how they attack certain pitches. How do you try to match that in a practice setting? Are you able to do that with the Blast? Can you, see how guys attack certain velocities or type of pitch?
The best tool that we have that I think is the closest thing to in-game results is a hack attack. Every practice, I actually got the idea from Mike. I was putting the hack attack on a flat surface and the ball was just going like this, and then he said, put it on the mound. That's what we do. So, I had the fastball was coming in down and down. That was the closest thing. I think that was the biggest improvement that we made. Like Pete said, we can't really do anything in the game as far as numbers. You just got to look at ball to bat ratio and, what's he doing in the game. But for practice standpoint, yeah, I think the hack attack and seeing as much live ABs and live velocity, live pitches is the best way to get better.
Right.
I use the hack attack all the time too. And same thing. We got the extended legs or a platform.
Day occurrence now at Morris.
Every day.
Yep.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. It's really good, guys. That's all I have. Henry, if you have anything more to add in there, I think that was really good.
No,
I have a good question. I have a question for Pete. It's I was talking about this the other day with someone. Do you think, with the recruiting rules and the dead periods, do you think they'll open up that there's a dead period, last few weeks of August into
last
September?
2 weeks of August, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they'll open that up?
Potentially. I mean, I haven't seen any proposals on that right now, but I know everything's kind of ever changing. I mean, I could see them doing that just because that might be when this all kind of, breaks open. And, you imagine if it, all of a sudden everything, we're a full go, middle of August, and it's like, well, now we have to wait another 2 weeks because it's a dead period. I could see that. I could see that opening up. And that's why I could see them adjusting the fall as well. They shrunk the fall to only, I think, 4 weeks. From the middle of September to middle of October. I could see them, same thing, opening that back up for a little bit and letting guys see some more guys. Yeah, it's just, there's not enough opportunities to see guys right now, with everything going on. I don't think this summer, there's going to be much happening. And so there's got to be some more time to get it in.
Yeah, our fall is 3 weeks. So
you can only recruit 3 weeks? Or you mean your fall season?
Our fall season's 3 weeks, so 16 practices.
Right. That's the tough thing for us is we have a big fall. Fall is huge for us.
Yeah.
So our guy, sometimes our assistant coaches are recruiting on the weekends when we're inter-squatting. So this staff was new, and Kyle and Monty through the first 2 months, they didn't really see anybody play in a game or in an inter-squad because every weekend they were going out recruiting because it was the only time. So it was Coach Owens, Cogs, myself, we're the only ones, watching the actual live stuff. But that's where like we have a really good video system. Like we have Bats by SideX Sports, so they were able to watch it, on the back end. But still, it's crazy right now the way the schedules line up, because in the Northeast, like ideally we would push our fall to as soon as that period is over in October, and we'd play through November. But it's too cold. You just can't do it.
Yeah, can't do it. Awesome. Did you guys have any other questions before I close it out?
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, good stuff, man. This is a great convo. Started out as recruiting, analytics, touched on all. So grateful for all you guys.
We're like 1 hour on the dot too. Get us on TV.
Yeah.
We got a good TV slot.
Look at that. There we go.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, thanks again for hopping on, guys. This was awesome, and we're hoping to do more as well. So would love to have you guys back on, and maybe touch on some other topics as well. So that was great, guys. Much appreciated.
Anytime, man. See you, fellas.
Yeah.
See you.
Later.